Hello you beans, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the last game that I'm probably going to review made by this publisher, and that's Next Move Games. We've already done Azul and Reef. And the name of this game is Azul 2. Wait, no. Peggle? No, not yet. Azul, but it's glass instead of tiles. Yeah, that's it. It's Azul, but with glass. Or is it? Normally, I wouldn't cover games that have follow-ups or like very slight variations, like Clank versus Clank in Space, and I will be covering Clank at some point. Sometimes you get games with expansions or sequels that change the mechanics enough to be a completely different game. Like, sure, Dominion is a really fun game, but by the 13th expansion, you're playing a whole different game, right? This is one of those. So, while doing research for this video, I found out that not only is this specific version of Azul not even listed on their website, but the entire website is currently down. So let me know if you can get a hold of them. I guess they just couldn't keep up in competing with the enormous spike in Peggle sales recently. By the way, the Peggle community is dying. Show your support by sharing this video and letting me know in the comments below if you're into pegging. So, like I said, this game was developed by Next Move Games and has the same original creator and designer, and that is Michael Kiesling. And this is Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. So, I already did a review on Azul, as I mentioned in my last review. I'm begging you to check out that video before you watch the rest of this one. So if you haven't already watched it, please do that, because this video is nothing but comparisons, and it's going to be up in the corner right now. Please go watch that if you haven't already, because you're not going to get a lot of this. Okay, so let's move on to a piece inspection. So inside the box, you'll find the instruction manual and the one scoreboard that you'll be using. Notice that this is very paper thin as opposed to the original Azul's cardboard pieces that everybody gets. This is the tower. It is pretty much the garbage bin for the rest of the pieces that you're not going to be using, or the pieces that you're done using. This game says it's 1 to 5 players, but for some reason we only got 4 of these little tower things, so I don't know how a 5th person would play. These are the different pieces, the different chip colors. There are 5 different ones similar to the original Azul. And they all come in this nice pink bag instead of the blue one. The tiles are obviously missing something, right? I'll be comparing the actual pieces and quality of them in a second. Those are the point trackers, these little character markers, because it actually matters where you are in terms of completing the board. This is the chip token. It's the same Who Goes First token that you get in the first game. So this is what an actual setup of a game would look like. You would need all of these pieces to start up. The side pieces, the actual tiles, are randomly generated by you, in that you have those 32 pieces that you saw earlier, and you basically shuffle up the ones that are your colors, and you place them face up in any direction that you want. There's one tile for every single player that has these 2 blank ones, and those are Joker tokens, which Next Move Games seems to have a real affinity for at this point. Your little person stays on the side. You can only move to the right, and it takes a turn to reset, so you can't place tiles down anywhere to that person's left without taking a turn first. This allows other people to kind of reset and set up the order that they want, or take 2 pieces that they want in a row because you're too busy resetting instead of picking up. It's a bit more strategically in-depth than the base Azul game is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's better, and you'll see what I mean when we go over some of the game mechanics. So like I said, there are each of these flats here, and they have the Joker tokens on them, and that they can be any color. The first time you complete a row, you flip it over to the other side, which is a different pattern, and the second time that you complete it, you get rid of that window pane entirely, and you can never use it again. You can never put pieces on there. Up at the top of each column, you'll see a design, and that indicates what's on the opposite side. This is a closer look of what all of the pieces look like set up before you can even start playing one game. So here we're going to be talking about the comparisons between the old Azul tiles and the new Azul tiles. Clearly you can tell that the outside Coloring has not changed, which doesn't mean these are like faded or we just got a bad pair or whatever. This is an old copy. I don't know why they're designed like this. It's almost the same exact design, just entirely worn out in some way. I don't understand why they're like this. I don't really enjoy it. It just looks cheap. The stained glass pieces as well, upon like a piece inspection, they don't look like they'll last very long. These are kind of like little plastic bits that I'm not a huge fan of compared to the original Azul, where you have these actual things that are supposed, I get that they're supposed to imitate glass, but the old Azul had these things that used to be tiles. And the tiles just feel, they look a lot better, they actually have designs on them, whereas these all have one design. And you can tell that a lot of effort didn't really, as much effort didn't go into creating this game as a follow-up as did the original game. It's basically the skeleton of the first game with a couple different mechanics that make it harder and honestly, in my opinion, less fun. This is a picture of what the actual Azul looks like set up. As you can tell, it's much less complex and everyone gets their own board, so you're not having to share tile pieces or having to move your score on a main board that's as thin as paper. I don't get why they didn't make the only board that's important on this as thick as the rest of the pieces and why they gave you a pseudo piece of paper. So, how is it? It's kind of clear that it's a cash grab using the name recognition from the first game with shittier mechanics and a borrowed game design. Difficulty-wise, I'm going to give it a light 2. There seem to be a lot of random mechanics that make the game longer, like resetting or getting rid of window panes once they've been completed twice. The layout of the original Azul made sense because placing tiles on, like, let's say a wall, or even if they're just freestanding, you would want it to be more structurally sound, hence there are more pieces at the bottom so you work up. This doesn't really have any of that. For stained glass of Sintra, you're laying down glass on both sides and then just ripping it off. I don't understand why you take the window pane away. I'm not a glass blower, and I'm certainly not the most experienced when it comes to stained glass, but I'm not sure that's how that works. Enjoyment-wise, I'm giving this game a solid 5. I wasn't impressed with the piece integrity or the overall game design. Jess and I played it a couple times recently just before this review, and we never really got that competitive sense that Azul gave us, where we're constantly trying to screw each other over or get the most amount of points, or, you know, not look at the pieces that we want, just to not give away any hints whatsoever what we're going to do. Whereas in this one, we kind of found ourselves helping each other to get more points, because there's just, the point board goes up to 100, but it doesn't seem like you're ever going to hit it on this version. I will say this, if I had not played Azul first and had high expectations for a sequel, I would have rated this a lot higher. Even if it were switched around, I probably would have given it a higher score. Like, if I had played Stained Glass of Sintra and then played Azul, I would have thought that both games were good and pretty enjoyable. As a standalone game, it's fine. But from the title and a couple of mechanics, I'm always going to compare it to the base game Azul, which is just much better. If you don't own either, I would recommend getting one of these, but having both seems pretty pointless, because if you want to scratch that abstract, languageless strategy board game genre itch that we've been having recently, you might as well use a back scratcher like Splendor, Reefer, Azul instead of your own hand. I'm not surprised that Next Move Games isn't selling this game on their own website. Upon further inspection, it looks like a lot of the rules were ripped straight from this older game called Sagrada. I would not, under normal circumstances, purchase this game. But I would play it again if I went over to a friend's house. It's not like certain games that you'll find out later that I've come to just completely hate. I hope you enjoyed this video more than I enjoyed this board game. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, drop a comment. Did you not like it? Leave a comment telling me why. You know, did you not agree with my review? What kind of board game do you want to see in the future? There was actually a tie in the last poll between Love Letter and Splendor, so I've put together a runoff between the two options on my Twitter. There's a link in the description, and it should be my pinned tweet at the time of this video's upload. Remember to tell me if you're a fan of pegging or not in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.